talk to us a little bit about baseball, what that meant for you and what it was like, man, just to get drafted professional sports out of high school.
Yeah, that was a pretty cool experience. First, it all started with me at Gresham Park and playing, alongside the likes of the Travis Strauss of the world and some other great players, that I played along with. And so that's where my, competitive baseball started at.
In your mind, what was the first thing you were buying?
Well, the first thing I was buying was a Mercedes. But then Sherry Carter Embry was buying something else.
What is 18, 17-year-old Quincy, the first time you report to the Cubs, man? Like walk us through when you realize, oh, this is what grown people do.
Yeah, well, it was probably my first morning at practice, and it's rookie ball.
Before baseball, you give a rubber to Georgia Tech, and then baseball is over, and you don't go to Georgia Tech. How did that come through?
Georgia was getting ready to be on probation, or was already on probation. And I just didn't feel comfortable in possibly going to college and not being able to play in bowl games.
Welcome to Mick Unplugged, where we ignite potential and fuel purpose. Get ready for raw insights, bold moves, and game-changing conversations. Buckle up. Here's Mick.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another exciting episode of Mick Unplugged, where legends don't just share their stories, they have legacies. And today, we're honored to sit down with the University of Georgia football icon, former Dallas Cowboys starting quarterback, and a true warrior of resilience. From the glory days of the game to life's toughest challenges, he's transformed every obstacle into a lesson, and he now shares those hard-earned wisdom with the next generation. He's a dynamic speaker, he's an inspiration to the world, and a force of unwavering grit. Help me welcome my friend, my dog, Mr. GQ himself, Quincy Carter. Quincy, what's up, brother?
What's up, man? Good Lord, man. You talking about making somebody feel special, man. I appreciate that introduction, man. Thank you.
Hey, that's all you. That's all love. You know you're my main man, 50 grand, man. So just honored to share some time on the podcast with you, brother.
Hey, man, I'm honored to be spending some time with you too, man. Thanks for the introduction. Oh, good Lord, man. Thank you.
It's all you, man. Quincy, this is one I'm honored. I told you when we met face to face, like how much I've always looked up to you, how much, even my family, right? Like we're a Georgia football family and had an uncle, Tron Jackson, that played at Georgia. So we bleed red and black, bro. And I'm going to say this, I always tell David Pollock he's my favorite Georgia Bulldog defensive player of all times. And it's you and Garrison Hurst, my top two on offense, man. Like you are the guy. You're the GOAT when it comes to Georgia football, bro.
Wow, man. I appreciate that, man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So I want to start by, not today, but, you and I talked about your recruiting process, right? And how you went from junior high to high school and the legend of Quincy Carter started forming, not just on the football field, but you could swing that bat too, brother. So I'd love to talk about just your journey of young Quincy, right? Getting into high school, because that's a story that most people don't know. So I'd love for you to share that moment, brother.
Yeah, Mick, man, born in Chicago, for a lot of people that don't know, actually born in Bloomington and went to Chicago right out the hospital. And then me and my mom moved down here to Atlanta, Decatur area about, when I was about 3 or 4 years old. But yeah, Mick, man, life was, to me, it was humbling. Coming down here from Chicago. As a kid, I thought I had everything I wanted. You know what I mean? We didn't grow up in the nicest of neighborhoods. My mom don't like to tell me exactly what neighborhood, so honor mom on that. But it was humbling. Grew up at the recreation park. Nick, I was a kid that got dropped off at Gresham Park, did all my homework there. And that's where my competitive nature started, and that's where sports started for me. It was table tennis and bumper pool that moved to basketball, baseball, and football. And I wanted to play all three. Also, coming up, closer to high school, I wanted to play at the best high school for football. And we, actually had a good baseball and basketball team, but that football team was Southwest DeKalb High School. Coach Buck Godfrey had established himself in the late 80s, mid to late 80s, and the 90s were starting. And I wanted to keep that tradition going. We had just went to a state championship in 1990. I think I was in the 7th grade then. And coming into the 8th grade, coming into high school, which was 8th grade for us, because we didn't go to middle school, I wanted to be the QB that got us back there. We took a tough loss to Valdosta in the championship game in 1990. And I wanted to be the QB besides Eric Johnson to lead us back to promises. So I started on that journey in the 8th grade, man, and we put our head down and went to work as a team.
And you did it.
Yes,
you did it, right? Like, you can brag a little bit. Let's talk about those accolades, man. Like Southwest DeKalb, Quincy doing his thing, leading the school to multiple championships, breaking records, doing things that quarterbacks that looked like you hadn't done in the state of Georgia or in the United States, to be honest with you, man. So talk about those accolades, Quincy.
Well, it was a big accomplishment. And one, having pride in being, the only all black school to win at its highest classification. The Clark Centrals of the world's ruled, the Valdostas, Camden counties, Parkview was coming up at that time. And so we're very proud of that. What you just mentioned wasn't happening for black quarterbacks either, as far as going to D1 schools. But having an idol like Charlie Ward, right down the street in Thomasville and seeing him go on to Florida State, to win a national championship and to win a Heisman was everything to me. You got to think that was my freshman, sophomore, and junior season in high school. And I was watching him. And then Damian Craig, started to make some noise at Auburn. And ironically, those were the first 2 or 3 schools I started looking at. Was Auburn and it was Florida State. And then I, end up settling with Georgia Tech. Not settling, I'm sorry, no disrespect, because they had a really good program at the time, which you want to get into that anyway.
I do. We talked a lot about that when we were in person. Absolutely.
Yes. But yeah, those are the guys I looked up to. Those are the guys that were running, throwing the ball, being in multiple facet formations and really, being able to show every aspect of their game.
Yeah. So before we get into the Georgia Tech story, though, I want to get into that curveball because, I'm a Tar Heel. I'm a Georgia guy, but I'm a Tar Heel grad. And MJ went and played baseball for a little bit, but he couldn't hit that curveball. Yeah. Quincy Carter could. Quincy could hit it. So talk us a little bit about baseball, what that meant for you and what it was like, man, just to get drafted professional sports out of high school.
Yeah, that was a pretty cool experience. First, it all started with me at Gresham Park and playing, alongside the likes of the Travis Strauss of the world and some other great players, that I played along with. And so that's where my, competitive baseball started at. I ended up getting selected to play for the East Cobb Astros at the age of 13. And we took the opportunity. At the time, East Cobb, which is, really pretty nationally well known, only had one, team out the whole state for each age group. So we took advantage of that opportunity. So from 13 to 17, I played a lot of travel ball, played about 80 to 100 games a summer. Had a really, really good coach at Southwest DeKalb too, Coach Pruitt, who helped start, the read-in program before Coach Goodwin later took it along. And then really winning region championships and the whole 9 over there in the state championship at Reading. But yeah, so with me getting so much experience during the summertime and my game really taking off, a lot of scouts start, buzzing around Southwest DeKalb, during the spring of my senior season. And my hometown team, well, I say my second hometown team, I can't disrespect Atlanta and Decatur, good Lord.
Yeah.
Get me because, boy, my people here really fed my spirit. But yeah, my original hometown team, let's say it like that, the Chicago Cubs drafted me in the second round. And it was a dream come true, Mick. I think I told you this, but I tell everybody, man, that getting that phone call at graduation practice was pretty cool, because I didn't know what time it was going to happen. The baseball draft could go on for I think 30, 45 minutes a pick or something like that, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's changed now. But to get that call of graduation, man, it was pretty cool. Heck yeah.
Walk us through that call and that emotion, man. So you got young Quincy graduating high school, getting a call of second round pick by the Chicago Cubs, right? The team that, us growing up, Quincy, you always saw the Cubs because the WGN station, right? Like the Cubs, you saw the Cubs more than the Braves for the most part. I'm from the South too.
Absolutely.
What is that like,
my granddad,
man?
well, shoot, Mick, not to cut you off, sorry about that, but me and my granddad, I went to Chicago right after my short kind of baseball season growing up at Gresham Park. I went to Chicago the rest of the summer. So me and my granddad sat there and watched, first we had to watch the Bozo show because Grandma wasn't playing games. Then it was General Hospital, One Life to Live, one of them. Then we can watch the game. But yeah, man, shoot, we watched, Chicago baseball, man, all summer. And growing up and seeing Sean Dawson, Andre Dawson, Sean Dunston, let me get my guys right. Mark Grace.
Ryan Sandberg.
Yeah, Ryan Sandberg.
Yes, sir.
And then walking in the locker room, actually seeing them after I got drafted was just so, surreal. But man, it was surreal, to really get that phone call. And I think my mom called me first on a three-way with them. Yeah. Yes.
That's wild. That's wild. So that means that young Quincy had a cell phone too. We'll talk about that later. Because I know I didn't get a cell phone till way into college. So I had one. So yeah. But yeah, man, so you get the call from the Cubs, go into your hometown team, the team that's always on TV. You got Harry Carey. Like most people don't know, the Cubs never played night games until like 10 years ago. Like they didn't have lights at the ballpark, which is wild and cool.
Exactly, it was.
Yeah. So you got the call. What's the first thing in your mind that you bought? Because you got to think through, right? Like, man, I'm with the Cubs. Like, I'm 17, 18. Like, I'm about to buy something. In your mind, what was the first thing you were buying?
Well, the first thing I was buying was a Mercedes. But then Sherry Carter Embry was buying something else. Not that she was taking my money, but I wasn't about to spend all this money on a Mercedes. So I think we settled, what did I get? Eddie Bauer. Yeah, I'll never forget. I got the Eddie Bauer edition. Eddie Bauer started making clothes, I think, also. Yeah. So I had the jacket. What was that, a Ford, I think? Heck yeah.
The Explorer.
Yeah, the Explorer. There it is. Yeah. The Explorer. And I got the Eddie Bauer edition. Yeah, heck yeah. So, but in my mind, like you worded it, I thought I was getting ready to get a Mercedes, but that wasn't happening. And my mom wanted me to be smart. And that was smart for her for disciplining me.
Okay. All right. So now you're a professional, young age, you're a professional, which means you go from high school practices with people your age and younger, and you're kind of the leader to, as I always tell people, man, you're out there with grown folks. What is 18, 17-year-old Quincy, the first time you report to the Cubs, man? Like walk us through when you realize, oh, this is what grown people do.
Yeah, well, it was probably my first morning at practice, and it's rookie ball. So rookie ball is, you think you're getting ready to come to the park and have a little batting practice and then play a game. But rookie ball work started at 7:30, to about 11. And so that's fielding, that's outfield drills, that's base running, shoot, you name it. Fielding situations as far as having men on base, hitting the ball in the gap, where you throwing the ball, batting practice for an hour, you hitting live pitching in the cage. And then you go have lunch, probably about 10:30 maybe, 10:30, 11. And then you're out on the field, playing the game at 12 o'clock. So it became grown man business right away, that first day. But hey, that's what I dreamed of, and that's what I wanted to do. So I embraced it, man. I embraced it and loved it.
Yeah. And so now we get to talk about Georgia Tech. So you find out you like baseball, but maybe you don't love everything about the professional side of it, right?
Absolutely.
Because you're still 18, right? You still like, hey, this Mercedes, I still want, right? So high school, you're recruited and give a verbal commitment to Georgia Tech. Quincy, we got to talk about this one. We all know in the state of Georgia, my Bulldogs reign supreme.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to ask the question that, I've been waiting to ask you forever. How much money did Georgia Tech give you to give you that verbal commitment? Because I know you. No, I'm joking. But so before baseball, you give a verbal to Georgia Tech, and then baseball is over and you don't go to Georgia Tech. You made the wise decision to go to UGA, but how did that come through? I want the listeners and viewers to hear this story.
Okay. All right. Now I got to tell the whole story too now. All right?
Yep.
And that whole story is that
you got a bag.
Well, no. I'm still not going to tell on nobody. But the whole story is, though, Mick, Georgia was getting ready to be on probation, or was already on probation. And I just didn't feel comfortable in possibly going to college and not being able to play in bowl games. Now I've got to add my real spin to it, and that's that, Georgia Tech was pretty decent at the time.
Yep.
The offense they were running, Ralph Freed.
Pro-style offense.
Pro-style offense. Good mentor of mine, Steve Davenport, was from Georgia Tech. And then I had about 4 or 5 baseball buddies who was joining me on the baseball team too. So it was a tough decision. I've always been a Georgia boy, wanted to stay home. So it was a tough decision to, sign with Georgia Tech. And it's even tougher talking about it now because I didn't play it the red and black. But Mick, I owe you this one. There you go. That's my answer. But it was a business decision too. It was.
And we'll just leave it at that so nobody else gets in trouble. It was a business decision, for the record. So now let's talk about my dogs, man. You go to Georgia, and let's just be honest. 60s, 70s, 80s, I'm going to say until Eric Zier got there, Georgia's offense was, we're going to have the best running backs in the country.
Mm-hmm.
First and second down, we're running the ball. And if it's 3rd and 5 or less, we're still going to run the ball on 3rd down. Right?
Absolutely.
You get there and you become a prolific passer of the football, something that honestly was new to Georgia fans, right? Like first down, wait, we're dropping back. We're going to throw the ball. We're going to line up in the shotgun on second down. Like what? But you totally changed because these are the words of Mick and Mick only. Unlike other African-American quarterbacks up till that date, you were not a run-first quarterback. You were not an option. You were like, let me show off this gun that I got, and I'm going to sling this ball down the field. And you set records moment one as a freshman quarterback at Georgia.
Yeah, it was a dream come true too, Mick. And shout out to Coach Donnie, who believed in me. Shout out to him, saying the words to get me down there, but then actually delivering as far as giving me a chance to compete, against five other quarterbacks. And, being the only African-American in that role, and Georgia really not having the history of having a black quarterback there since, I think James Jackson. So the opportunity, to be a quarterback at the University of Georgia was a dream come true. And you said it best, man. For us to be throwing, on first and second down sometimes instead of running the ball on first and second down was unheard of. But Eric Zier, he set the precedent for that. And he showed that it could be done. And then I had to go in and prove that an African-American can do the same thing as Eric Zier. And so, man, I put my head down. I had some great teammates. Shout out to Jonas Jennings, too, for giving me the confidence, to give, Georgia a shot. coming back from baseball. But, man, we put our head down. It didn't hurt having Champ Bailey as your leading receiver that year, too.
Yeah.
And everything he could bring to the table. And that just kind of set the bar, for Larry Brown running routes up underneath. Wiggins, another one of our tight ends.
Yeah.
Man, Michael Greer had a big year that year, too. He had some big catches. And shout out to Tony Small. They didn't get a lot of credit for being a really, really good receiver, standing at 6'2", about 200 pounds, too. So I had some pretty good, not pretty good, but I had some great guys around me, too. And then let me give a shout out to Steve Herndon and Miles Lucky before they knocked me out on my offensive line, man. They were my boys.
They helped you stay upright, brother. They helped you stay upright.
Absolutely.
So you have 3 really, really good years at Georgia, which leads you to being second-round draft pick by the Cowboys. Another one of those things, like you almost can't write this story of Quincy Carter, right? Get drafted by the Cubs, right? Big national brand, go to the University of Georgia, starting quarterback, big national brand, and now you get drafted by the Dallas Cowboys. Shout out to Kenny Anderson, that's his team. Whatever. I'm not a Cowboys fan, but doggone it, Quincy Carter. Not only do you get drafted, but you do something that's really hard at that time, which was you start. That's people now, right? You draft a quarterback round 1 or 2. Kind of the expectation is you're going to start a little bit. Not then. Like rookie quarterbacks, you're going to sit a couple of years. Maybe year 3, you get some shine, you get some burn. Quincy gets in the game. So let's walk through the draft. So Quincy Carter, drafted by the Dallas Cowboys.
Man, Mick, I'm telling you, it is a movie. It is a movie to have those 3 teams you've played for, but then for it to, end up in Dallas, after I'm done playing college football, was a dream come true, man. And Mick, everything, that I, had been through and God had placed me at, having some adversity in baseball with the Cubs, going to Georgia, being one of the only, African-American to ever start there, and then coming to Dallas and being one of the only African-American to start there. Not only that, like you just said, the first game of the season, opening day, and then seeing your hero on the field, Doug Williams, who was the first to ever win a, Super Bowl as an African-American, and to see him, pregame and shake his hands my first time ever meeting him, it was a dream. But one thing I always knew, Mick, is that I had to work my butt off to keep it. And I had my eyes on the prize of doing that. And that was year in and year out. And nothing was going to stop me but myself. And I end up, stopping myself through some things that we'll probably get into. But, as far as my work ethic, as far as who I was as a person, who I was trying to be, who I was becoming, who I was representing, was evident. And I was going to do anything to accomplish everything I wanted to.
Yeah, man. And I don't want to slide past something, because not only are you drafted by the Cowboys and starting for the Cowboys, I'm going to say more importantly, bro, you're starting for Bill freaking Parcells, right? Like of any coach that I'm not going to say is against you, but of any coach that doesn't want to start a rookie quarterback, it's Bill Parcells, bro. So that is a testament to the work ethic that you had, the leader that you were. And for anyone, go watch, I don't know if it's season 1 Hard Knocks, but there's a Hard Knocks episode. And I told you this, right? Where Bill Parcells is sitting there talking to someone and they're like, you want to know about Quincy Carter? It's 11 o'clock at night. Watch this. And he yells out your name. You were at the football facility at 11 o'clock at night, breaking down your practice film, not even game, but your practice film and figuring out ways to get better. That's a true testament to who you are. So I love to go behind the scenes a little bit. What was it like, especially year 1, Parcells and earning his trust? What was that like? Because that's something, again, nobody else has done other than Quincy Carter. So we're adding to this movie, brother.
Yeah, Mick, it was perfect for me, because, not to toot my own horn, but I was like the perfect quarterback for him because I wanted someone not growing up with a father in my life. I wanted that father, in my life. And I finally got that. And it was the perfect recipe for me, to have somebody that, was just so enamored with every detail possible, for just one play to work. And now we're just talking about, I'm just mentioning plays. But now when we get to, actually how you take care of your body, how many lifts a week, the hot and cold tub, then you skip over to the film room. What is defenses doing to you on first and second down? What are they doing to you on third, and medium? What are they doing to you on third and long? Now, after about 6 or 7 games, now what are we doing, that's tipping off defenses? And so now, me and him and the coaches, Sean Payton, now we're going into a South scouting mode. So what formations are we running in? What formations are we motioning? And when we're motioning, are we throwing, are we passing? And so just every detail was so important to him. And it was just like a dream come true to me to have somebody that just loved the game as much as he did and just was able to just give me that wisdom and knowledge, man, of how to approach it. And I just ate every bit of it up, man. I did.
Testament to who you are, brother. Yeah, testament to the determination and grit that you have. So let's get into, and for those that don't know Quincy, you're about to know him. A lot of people watching and listening know Quincy, but the real Quincy, I call him the inconvenient truth. He's going to tell you the truth. He's going to hold no punches back. You got called into Jerry Jones' office.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You over there thinking, I'm about to get a contract extension, about to buy this other Benz. Conversation didn't go that way.
It did. And actually, before I even got in the office, I thought I had some what you call lucky training camp visitors. and I'll keep it PG. But yeah, Mick, I started a habit and actually started in baseball where, I didn't depend on God like I should have. And I started smoking weed, Mick, and it's a habit that I've formed. I tried to keep it a secret as much as possible. As much as what we, were discussing as far as my work ethic and, the things and the person I was trying to be, Mick, I was doing things that eventually caught up to me. I failed my first test in 2002, going into the season, actually. It was 2002. Bill Parcells knew I was in the program, too, and had faith in me. Shout out to him having faith in me throughout this process. But anyway, a week before training camp, I failed another test, Mick, and I was at the 4-game fine phase. We had a couple words in training camp about my reps. Me and Jerry and Bill, they were concerned that, I'll possibly be getting a third, failed test. And then that'll be a suspension and embarrassing the whole franchise. And they made a decision to cut me and move on from me because they couldn't trust me. And I thoroughly understand that to this day. That's why I'm out here, and I don't like to use the word preaching because, I'm not a pastor, but I am trying to preach to these young men, that's in a world right now they're being told that marijuana is legal. And it may be in certain states, but it can't be legal to you if you're trying to accomplish all your goals. What, billionaires out here sitting around trying to get a, PhD in marijuana, which I, kind of slightly say I was at some point because I wasn't dependent on the man up above. But who's doing that out here and being a billionaire and being successful, man? So I'm trying to, get this word out here to these young men. We can think we're being slick, but what's done in the dark eventually comes to light, and it bit me in my butt.
Yeah, and I want to clear up some stuff here too, because, again, you and I we talk a lot. You got suspended for marijuana, right? Like there was some other noise that was out there, but the truth was Quincy Carter got suspended or fired for marijuana usage, right?
Yeah, absolutely. At the time, Nick. Now,
right.
Now my addiction would go on, and I get a PhD in cocaine, which I'm not proud of. I'm smiling at now, but I'm not proud of it, but I'm proud to be able to tell somebody my journey, man. That's what feels good.
Yeah.
But at the time, Nick, that's what it was, man. Now, a lot of other things were being said, but yes, at the time it was.
Yep. And so then you're out of football or out of professional football for a couple of years.
Yes.
But then you get another call from the Dolphins.
Absolutely.
And what happened there, Quincy?
Well, yeah, Mick, I had played arena football about 2 seasons, Mick, and I was up in Kansas City, and really close to another one of my good coaches, Herm Edwards, who was keeping an eye on me, and ended up playing like the last, 4 or 5 games of that season, and played, okay enough, garnered some interest from teams. And the same guy who cut me still believed in me and brought me down to training camp for the Miami Dolphins during the start of that training camp season of 2009. Mick, 2009. And had a great workout, Mick, but couldn't stop doing what had got me cut from the Cowboys. And so he told me, Bill Parcells, man, told me to go back to the room and, hey, we're going to sign you, work out the deal with your agent. And I knew, Mick, going back, it was just a feeling that I had. You get done taking the physicals and all that or what have you. There was a chance that the things that I hadn't quit just yet, smoking, and I, could possibly get caught. And that's what happened, Mick. My agent called me about a couple hours later and told me, well, first of all, Eugene Parker, rest in heaven. And he was just asking me, Quincy, why you didn't tell me? Why you didn't tell me? And I was just like, what, trying to play it off? And he was like, you should have just told me, that you were still having some issues. And we could have just, kind of waited on you going down and working out. But he said they can't even test, your urine. And that's because I tried to mask it, man. And it cost me my job, man. And Bill, I ain't got too grown yet, but Coach Parcells, man, was really, he was really disappointed, man, because I had done a lot of work, in rehabilitation, working down there in Florida with my mentor and sponsor to this day, Hollywood Henderson, who's still in my corner. But I had a golden chance, man, of the man who cut me 4 years later, Mick, and brought me back, to get a chance. But that lesson that I had to learn just got a little bit more harder for me because I wasn't believing in the man yet, man.
Well, let's talk about it now, though.
Yeah.
Right. So you go through your challenges, you go through struggles, and then you get closer to the man. The man, the spirit that you've known all your life, right?
All my life.
Because you don't shy away from it. You've known God for all your life, right?
Yes.
What was that moment where you said, it's not enough to just know him.
Mm-hmm.
You got to have him. What was that moment for Quincy Carter?
Well, it was 2 phases of it, Mick. It was the morning that I reached out to Hollywood, July 22nd, 2019. It was that morning, and it was getting on my knees and praying. And the next, moment, Mick, was picking up the phone and telling Hollywood, hey, man, come get me before something really bad happens to me, and put me somewhere, man, where I can, work on this thing. And so that was the spirit of God. That was, Marcia Stone from BRC in Austin coming down and picking me up. And I was in rehab in like 5 or 6 hours. But that surreal moment, Mick, was me sitting at a table. I used to get up 4:35 in the morning, writing all my notes. We're doing, step work and everything. And I'll never forget sitting on that porch and just looking to the skies, Mick, and just asking God, man, if you're here for me, please show me. And Mick, little bit by little bit, whether it's the phone conversations with my mom I started to have in rehab, whether it's, that bird that was chirping in your ear when you're in a critical spot and you're writing and you're talking to God, and he's like, is that God? And then just seeing my confidence as I'm going through the steps and building. I never disowned God. I got mad at God, Mick, and I got mad because, so much bad was happening to me, But, Mick, what I wasn't accounting for is that I was the one in the way. I was the one that failed, the test for the Cowboys, a dream come true job. I was the one who was in position to get myself back in the NFL, and I didn't lean on God a little bit more and get that job with the Miami Dolphins, And so, and then walking home, being, in the bottom of the barrel, but living in a extended state up and coming Georgia, and somebody stopping me on the side of the road, Mick, and now I have a high school, baseball job, a basketball job, a football job, and then coaching, at a prep school too. So God was still, tugging me. Hey, I'm here.
Mm-hmm.
And I was so upset with God. And so I strayed away from him. So accepting those truths, once I got to rehab and just getting closer to him, Mick, I thought I knew God as a kid. I thought I knew him, in my early 20s, doing some FCA things and seeing the miracles of God. But knowing him on that personal level and feeling his spirit and not wanting to not be feeling his spirit at any point of your life, man, that's the special, part of our relationship,
I love that, brother. I love that so much. And I would love for you to just give some advice or a couple of words, a message to the person that's listening and watching that's right there. That's like, they're angry or upset, or maybe they're like, I don't know if I can continue this path. Like, what's your message for that listener or viewer, Quincy?
Well, it's a point that you get, when you're in your addiction, that you just got to say to yourself, how can I continue to live like this? And if you're there, and most of us, it takes, sometimes it takes longer than others to get there. But it's only two ways at this addiction, man, that you have option-wise, to get it under control. And that's one, you have to have someone outside of yourself, to restore you to sanity. And the second one, is, you got to dig deep in those steps and go through a great 12-step program, whether it's a 12-step program or you just going to a meeting and getting a sponsor. But one of those two things has to happen, because if it could come from us, we had the power within inside of us, we wouldn't have this addiction. Wouldn't be taking ourselves through hell. Who wants to do that? But it's one of two things, man. You got to get with God. And some people, we don't understand how we can get with a person where bad things have happened. Well, you have to have some kind of higher power outside yourself, no matter what. For me, it's God, and you know what I'm talking about when I say that, and I mean that.
Yeah.
But yeah, and you got to have those 12 steps, up under your belt and really go through a thorough 12 step.
Yeah, I love it, Quincy. And one of the things that I admire about you, I'm most proud of you, is how you now give back. Right. On Mick Unplugged, I talk about your because, right? That thing that's deeper than your why. Like your real purpose to me is your because. And I just love the fact, man, that you share with youths, you're out in the community, you're coaching, and you're staying busy by making an impact, man. So what's Quincy's because today? Like, what's that mission, that purpose for you today?
Man, it's because, Mick, God gave me grace, man. Man, I'm getting emotional, dude. He gave me a second chance, man. And I just thank him so much, Mick. I browse over the addiction, but I know what it was like being in that extended state, getting picked up, making that call to Hollywood, man. And he's giving me life. He's giving it back to me. I never thought I would actually be telling my whole life story of missed opportunities and having joy about it, to be able to tell somebody else and help them. And then coming from where I came from, coming out of Mountain Park, on Custer Avenue and getting there with the Cubs, and God gave me an opportunity with Georgia and Dallas, even the Jets, and then to see it come full circle, Mick. You have your struggles, and then you can get out here and help people regardless of what you've been through, and knowing you accomplished some things that a lot of people want to accomplish, but how do you get them there? What can you tell them? How can you help them? And then my biggest gift is I can point them to God, and I can show them, no matter what mistakes I've made, me being upset with God, at a point Job did too. And they took everything from Job, but I never disowned him. I know how powerful he is. And then to pick me back up on my feet, Mick. And that's all I can do to give back to him, man. Nick, is some days, man, I should have been dead, but I'm here. And so I'm going to do everything I can, to give back to his people, because I know what he's done for me, man. You got me, dude.
Look, but it's that story, it's that message why, when I opened and said one of the greatest speakers of our generation today with the best message is Quincy Carter, man. Like everybody, I don't care what your organization is, what your association is. Quincy's story, his message is so powerful that, and we're just getting a glimpse, right? Like I spent a few hours with Quincy and was just mesmerized by everything. Like his story is so powerful. Like everyone should definitely reach out and just have Quincy come speak, have Quincy come talk, have Quincy mentor, because you all know I believe in the power of mentorship. So Quincy, man, just love the fact that you took some time out of your schedule to share a glimpse into the story. I think it's something, maybe we have a Mick Unplugged series with Quincy Carter where you just break down stuff for people, man, because there's so much that you have to offer. Where can people follow you, find you, and then what's Quincy have going on now outside of coaching?
Outside of coaching, Mick, right now I've got my foundation that I started here a couple of years ago. We're on a mission to advocate for safe, drug-free communities. We do that through speaking engagements, camps, clinics. We got a Thanksgiving feed the hungry deal coming up here in a minute. We have a back to school special, and we're just going to continue to add to that. A golf tournament is down the line here. And then also we want to, get into a little celebrity bowling, annual celebrity bowling deal every year. So I'm doing that and really busy with that. I've got my own quarterback school. I'm mentoring quarterbacks. And then Mick, man, just giving where I can. Really. But yeah, you can find me on, I'm old school with it, Mick. I'm probably get my Facebook out first. But it's Quincy LaVon Carter on Facebook. And then also you can reach out for my foundation. It's the Quincy Carter Foundation. Sorry about that. I was about to give you my email. That's the Quincy Carter Foundation. And then for camps and training kids, it's Quincy Carter 17.com. It's both of my websites is the QuincyCarterFoundation.com, the QuincyCarter17.com, and then also the quickest way to get to me, because I'm still old school, is that Quincy LaVon Carter on Facebook.
There it is. I'll make sure that we have links to all of that in the description and the show notes. I'm going to make sure socially I'm posting about some of those things too. Quincy, brother, I'm honored to call you a brother, to call you a friend. And more importantly, man, and I'm going to tell you this for the first time, I'm honored to call you an inspiration in my life, Quincy. So I just want to thank you for the things that you do that go unseen, brother, because it helps me, just so you know.
Yeah. Well, man, I want to thank you too, Mick, and thank you for being a friend also, man. You can only really have these conversations with the people you really feel. And, man, your spirit is special, man. So you continue being great. And, I'm going to just be quiet now.
I got you, man. So for the listeners and viewers, Quincy and I are about to have a series. We're going to work that out. We're going to have the Mick and Quincy hour, like once a month, once every other month or whatever, because I love this dude so much, and the world needs more of Quincy Carter. So Quincy, again, thank you, brother.
Oh, thank you, man. God bless you too, Mick.
You got it. For the listeners and viewers, remember, your because is your superpower. Go unleash it.
Thank you for tuning in to Mick Unplugged. Keep pushing your limits, embracing your purpose, and chasing greatness. Until next time, stay unstoppable.